welcome to another lawnfawn video. Today we are so excited to be introducing our brand new die, Swivel Surprise. This die is so much fun and it helps you make an interactive card that has this really great surprise on the inside. And this is what the Swivel Surprise looks like. As you open it, you get this amazing surprise of these rotating circles inside. It is so cool and so much fun. These cards are so much fun to make. And in this video, we're going to show you how to put a Swivel Surprise together and also how to make these 3 cards that I'm showing you right now. There's lots of cool things that you can do with it, like changing that top circle out for a cute little image like we did there. And the other thing that's great about the Swivel Surprise is you can use it with any stamps and any dies in your stash to create cards for any occasion or any holiday, which makes it so much fun. These cards are so much fun to make and so much fun to give. So let's go ahead and check out all of the pieces that are included with the Swivel Surprise. This is our ring, and it also creates our smaller circle, so it creates both those pieces. We also have the main circle. This is the mechanism here, and this small piece is the connector piece. And then it has 2 banners that you can use for your sentiments, and we'll show you how to use those in just a little bit. First, we're going to work with the mechanism piece, and you'll see that the die not only cuts the mechanism, but it also adds some score lines, and it adds that little X there. We're going to be using that tiny little X in just a little bit. The first thing that we're going to work on now is folding along those score lines. And you'll see that there's score lines, there's some horizontal lines and some diagonal lines, and we're going to be folding back along all of those. We're also going to use our bone folder to reinforce those folds so that they have a nice sharp crease. That's going to help the mechanism work really well. So we're going to fold back along that first horizontal fold, and now we're going to fold back here along that diagonal fold, just like that. Then we can take the bone folder again and add a really nice crease on there, and then we're going to repeat the same thing on the other diagonal. So we're going to fold back just like that, and then we'll take that bone folder and crease that down. We've created a large X there, and in the middle of that there's another horizontal fold. So we're going to fold back along that fold. And then once again, you guessed it, we're going to use the bone folder to crease that. And then our very last fold is right along the bottom of the mechanism. There's a little fold there. It's going to create a tab. We're going to fold back. And once again, we're going to make sure that that's nice and sharply creased so that our mechanism works really, really well. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our index fingers and we're going to put them right in the middle of those triangles, and we're going to press in. And you'll see that the whole mechanism kind of folds in on itself, and it makes a little shape that looks like this. And I'm going to repeat this a couple times so that you can see it again. So I'm going to take my index fingers, and they're going to point towards the center of that big X that we created with our folds. And they're just going to push in just like that. And as they push in, the whole mechanism is going to collapse and create a little piece just like this. So just one more time here, we'll take our fingers here and we're going to push in right into the center of that X that we folded, just like that. And now the whole mechanism is going to collapse and create a shape that looks like this. Next, I'm going to take out a standard size card base. So this is 5.5 by 4.25 inches. And we're going to be adding this mechanism to the inside of this card base. I'm also going to be taking out some 1/4 inch double-sided tape that we're going to use as our adhesive. So here's this little piece, and what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over. And you'll see on the back, there's almost like this shape that looks like a little house. There's the roof of the house and the base of the house. We're going to be adding adhesive on the base of the house, on that rectangle there. And so I'm just going to use a highlighter here so you can see exactly where we're going to be adding that double-sided adhesive. And you want to use some nice strong adhesive here, so that 1/4 inch double-sided tape is perfect for this. So you can see where that blue highlighter is. We're going to be adding adhesive onto that little rectangle there. And I'm going to add 2 pieces here. So I'm just going to add that on there. I can just tear it off, and then I can go ahead and add my next piece right on there to just cover that whole rectangular piece. Once I've added those, I can go ahead and remove the liner paper on them. Once I remove both of those liner pieces, I can go ahead and take this whole mechanism and flip it over again. So the adhesive is on the back right now. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take that standard size card base, we're going to open up, and I'm just going to eyeball kind of right in the center there. And that piece right there is going to butt up right into the center of this card. So you'll see I've got my center fold there, and I'm going to go ahead and just push that right into that fold, just like that. So once you have that centered, just kind of eyeball it. Doesn't have to be exactly perfect. You can just press down and secure that adhesive. I'm just going to press down and make sure it's nice and secure. Then the best way to test it is you're going to pull that tab and voila, these two pieces are going to pop up. I love this. I know exactly right away that my mechanism is working because I can pull on that tab and my two little pieces are going to pop out in a fun surprise. Next, we're going to take the ring, and this is that ring die that creates not only the ring, but this small circle too. And we're going to be working with both of these pieces, but we're going to start off with that smaller circle. And this smaller circle is the one that kind of rotates along in the back. And that's going to attach to that top piece there. And I like to call that the butter knife piece. It kind of looks like a butter knife. And so we're going to be adding adhesive to the knife part there. And you'll see I'm going to add some highlighters so you can see exactly where we're going to add some adhesive. And for this one, I just like to use tape runner. It doesn't need to be quite as strong because it's not part of the mechanism that's holding it down into the card base. So you'll see I'm just making sure I didn't get any extra adhesive onto the card base. And now we're going to add our circle, and you'll see that the curve of the circle matches the curve of the butter knife. So you just need to line those two up together, and that's going to put your circle in perfect placement without having to do any measuring or anything. So as you add that on there and you close your mechanism, you'll see that it'll close the circle, put it in perfect placement so that you can still close your card, which is so cool, but you get this awesome pop of a surprise. Now here is the ring piece. So remember the middle made the smaller circle here, and the outside of that die makes the ring. And so we're going to be using this ring, and the way this ring is going to go on is you're going to actually take that piece there and it's going to go through the center of the ring, and then it's going to attach down on the bottom part of the mechanism. So I'm going to remove the ring for now so that we can add adhesive onto that bottom part. And once again, I'm going to take out my trusty highlighter so you can see exactly where I'm adding the adhesive. And it's just along that curved part of the bottom piece. And just like the top piece, this curved piece is going to exactly match up with our ring to make the placement of it super, super easy. So once again, I'm going to take my tape runner and just cover that whole area there that I've added blue highlighter to. And I like to always check and make sure I don't have any extra adhesive onto my card base. And then now we can take that ring and we're going to add that ring. So we're going to take this piece, it's going to go through the center of the ring, and then we're going to layer that right onto that bottom piece. And it's really easy to see if you have it in perfect placement. See, I can see some of the top of the piece or some of the bottom. That's not right. I'll make sure that I can't see that connector piece at all. And then now I can press down and my ring is in perfect placement, and I can close my mechanism and pull it and close it. And you'll see that how cool is that? They're both moving and it's looking awesome. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work with that tiny little X marks the spot. And you'll notice that on the connector piece, there's an X marks the spot too. That's because those two pieces are going to go together. So here's our little connector piece, and then you'll see that the die also creates a little score line onto this piece. So we're going to fold along that score line first. And we're going to be folding up along that score line so that it almost looks like a little seat. So you'll see I'm just going to fold kind of away from myself like that. And it's going to form a little tiny chair. That's how I like to think of it when I fold this one. So I'm going to take my bone folder, make sure that it's a nice sharp crease, and then you'll see that we've folded up along that score line and we've made a cute little tiny chair. The next thing that we need to do is add some adhesive to attach this connector piece onto our mechanism so that those two X's are touching. So you'll notice that there's a little right triangle there that we created when we made the folds on our mechanism. I am going to use my trusty highlighter again to highlight this right triangle. That's exactly where we're going to be adding our adhesive. Now for this one, I like to use liquid glue because that little triangle would be really hard to put some tape on there. So liquid glue is a really great thing for this. You just need a little bit of liquid glue. You can see that's exactly where our little connector piece is going to attach, just like that. And so we're just going to take some liquid glue and add liquid glue only onto that right triangle where I have my blue highlighter. Once we've added our liquid glue on there, we can take the connector piece and line it up so that those two little X's line up with each other. And you'll see we're just going to add that right on top. It lines up right there with the score line. Super, super nice and easy. And then I just like to take my finger and just hold that in place while the liquid glue dries. And that's going to be a nice, strong hold for this connector piece that's part of our mechanism now. Next, we're going to work with the main circle piece, which is this die right here. And we're going to be adding that main circle onto the connector piece. And to do that, we're going to be using some 1/4-inch double-sided tape again. And where we're going to be adding the tape is onto the back of that fold. So you'll see I almost think of it like a little stadium seat. It's folded up, and we're going to be adding adhesive right there. So here's my trusty blue highlighter again. That's where we're going to add a little piece of 1/4-inch tape. So you'll see that our piece is folded up. And now we're going to add our adhesive onto that. So you'll just add a little bit of tape right there. I can just tear it right there with my fingernail. And now that's going to be the little piece that's going to connect to the main circle. So I'm going to peel up that liner paper and we're going to leave the adhesive just like that, leave that piece folded up. And then you're going to take this circle and you're just going to add it so that it's centered onto that ring piece. And so you can just eyeball this so that it looks nice and even all of the way around. And once it's done, you can just press down. It's going to attach onto that connector piece and that double-sided tape is going to hold it in perfect placement. And now you can pull on that tab and you'll see that all of our pieces are starting to rotate and move, which is so cool. So now the next thing that we need to do is attach that last tab of the mechanism. So what you're going to do is make sure that that piece is pushed in. So we're going to push in our mechanism like that so that that edge is lined up with the fold of the card. Then we're going to be adding some adhesive onto the other side of that score line right there. So it's going to be to the left of that score line. And we're going to be using our 1/4 inch double-sided tape again. So I'm just going to add some adhesive right there, right underneath that score line. And we'll add 2 pieces to make sure that it's nice and secure. Then all we need to do is peel up that liner paper. And then all you're going to be doing is closing your card shut and pressing down so that that's going to hold it in place. So it's going to all be lined up perfectly, which is so, so cool. You don't have to measure anything. It just lines up everything for you. Now you're going to press down and you'll see that that's going to hold it in place. And when we open it up, we now have this super cool swivel surprise on the inside, which is so much fun and so much fun to decorate. The Swivel Surprise comes with 2 different sentiment banners in it. It has a small mini banner and then also a curved banner that's perfect for adding onto that ring piece. So I'm going to add some adhesive onto that and then layer that right onto the ring. And this looks so cool and it's such a great way to place your sentiment onto your card. And then you could also take that little tiny guy there and add that on to the circle as well. Then of course you can decorate this with your favorite stamps and your favorite dies for any holiday and any occasion. And you'll see as you start to add the details, you really see the rotation and the really cool swivel surprise movement. Oh my gosh, I mean, this is just so cool. The other thing that's really great about the swivel surprise is that it's very forgiving. So you can add things kind of popping off the edge of stuff. You can play around with things. So for example, I could take this banner and part of it could be kind of coming off the edge of this circle, and that gives a really cool movement as well. So we're going to be going over some cool ways that you can mix and match your elements on to the Swivel Surprise. So let's go ahead and start creating with this. We're going to start off by creating a card base from some of this brand new Falling Leaves pattern paper. I love this paper so much, and I really like creating pattern paper card bases for Swivel Surprises because then you can have a pattern on the outside and a pattern on the inside, which is really fun. So I'm just going to trim this down to be a standard size. It's going to be 5.5 by 4.25. We'll score it, and now we have this really pretty card base to work for our Swivel Surprise. Then we're going to start cutting all of the different pieces that we need for our swivel surprise mechanism. So this is the mechanism and the connector piece, and I've die cut these out of 80-pound cardstock. 80-pound cardstock is the sweet spot for this mechanism. It just works so well. You can use pattern paper or 100-pound cardstock. They don't work quite as well though, so I definitely suggest the 80-pound cardstock. It's just perfect for the mechanism. Now for the other pieces, the ring and the small circle, the main circle, you can cut those out of pattern paper like I'm doing here. This is some more of that beautiful Falling Leaves paper. You could use 100-pound cardstock, 80-pound cardstock, whatever that you have in your stash that's going to be perfect for your card, you can use for all of the pieces. It's just for the main mechanism and the connector piece that we suggest 80-pound cardstock. So here you can see I have die cut a ton of these pieces from this beautiful pattern paper, and these are all of the pieces that we've cut together. Now for this design, for the ring, I want to use that pretty pink gingham, and for the smaller circle, I want to use that pretty yellow fall leaf paper. So that means I'm just going to have an extra circle and an extra ring, and I'm going to put them aside so that I can use them on another Swivel Surprise card later. Now we're going to put all of those pieces aside and just work on this mechanism first. And just like we did earlier, we're going to be folding along the score lines that the die has created for us. We're also going to take out our bone folder to create some nice sharp creases. And we have 3 horizontal lines and 2 diagonal lines, and we're going to fold back along all of those lines and make sure to use the bone folder to give them a nice sharp crease so that the mechanism works really well. Once we've folded along all of those lines, we can go ahead and take our index fingers, point them into the center of that X there, press in, and you'll see the whole mechanism will kind of collapse and create a shape like this. So let's do that again. We're going to take our index fingers, put them in those two little triangles there. We're going to push in towards the center of that folded X, and you'll see the whole mechanism will collapse down, and you'll have a little piece that looks like this. Then we're going to take out that card base that we created earlier, and we're going to be adding the mechanism into the card base. So we're going to be taking this mechanism and we're going to be flipping it over, and we're going to be adding adhesive there to that little rectangle. It almost looks like a little house. There's the roof of the house and the base of the house. We're going to be adding it onto the base, that little rectangle right there. And we're going to be using some 1/4-inch double-sided tape, and I'm going to add 2 pieces of that tape, and then we can peel up the liner paper to expose that adhesive. Then we can flip the whole mechanism over, and then we're going to add it into the center of the card. So it's just going to butt up right into that fold just like that. And we're going to just kind of eyeball it, make sure that it's in the center of the card. And then we can go ahead and press down and secure that adhesive. Then you can check to make sure that everything's working properly by pulling that tab, and your 2 pieces are going to pop up, and it looks so cool. I'm already so excited about this card. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now we're going to take that smaller circle that comes from that ring piece, and we're going to be adding that onto the top part of the mechanism. And I like to call this the butter knife, and we're going to add some adhesive onto the knife part of that butter knife. So I added some highlighter there so you can see where I'm going to add the adhesive. We're just going to add some tape runner right on top of that piece, and the curve of the butter knife is going to match the curve of this circle. So I can just take that circle, just kind of shift it over, and those two are just going to line up right there just perfectly, and that's going to put your circle in perfect placement so that the mechanism and the card can close, and then it can pop up and give that really fun surprise. Now, the next thing we're going to do is work with the ring. So we're going to take this ring, and that ring is going to have that part of the mechanism. It's going to go right through the center of the ring, and then it's going to line up with that bottom piece. So where we're going to be adding our adhesive is we're going to add it right along that curve. And the curve of the bottom part of the mechanism is going to match the curve of the ring. So we're going to add some adhesive there exactly where I added that blue highlighter. Then we'll take the ring, we're going to thread the mechanism through the center of the ring, just like that. And then we're just going to line that right up with that adhesive. And you can see that you're lined up perfectly once you can't see that little connector piece that you added adhesive to. Now you can check again and make sure that your 2 pieces are moving, and these are looking awesome. Next, we're going to be working with our little connector piece, and you'll see that the die has created a little X there, and there's an X on our main mechanism. Those 2 little X's are going to end up lined up together. So what we're going to do is add some adhesive where that X is. You'll see there's kind of like a right triangle shape right there. I'm going to highlight it here with my highlighter so you can see exactly where we're going to add adhesive. And for that little triangle, we're going to be using some liquid glue to add that on there. But first, we're going to fold along that score line that the die has created for us, and we're going to fold up along that score line so that it looks like a little seat, and you'll see that's going to attach right there. Now we'll take out that liquid glue, and I'm going to add it just to that right triangle area where that little X was created by the die. So we're adding just a little bit of liquid glue there, and then we're going to take this little connector piece and line that up right just like that. It's going to line up right with the top edge there of the mechanism and the side. And then I like to just put my finger there and hold it in place while the liquid glue dries, and that's going to give the connector a nice stable base for this cool moving mechanism that we're creating. The next thing that we need to do is add some adhesive on to this connector piece. And so we're going to take that little seat and we're going to fold it up. So you'll see that little fold there is going to fold up, and we're going to be adding adhesive to the back of that. So I'll add some highlighter there again to show you where it is. It's right along the back of that fold. And then we're going to take some 1/4-inch double-sided tape and we're going to add it right there to the back of the fold. So that whole piece is folded up, and now we'll add our 1/4-inch tape. We can add that on there, and then we can peel up that liner paper to expose the adhesive. And now our main circle piece is going to be connected onto this little connector. So we're going to take that main circle piece here, and what we're going to do is just layer it over top, and we're going to make sure to center it in that ring so that there's a nice even spaced ring all around that circle. Once we have that eyeballed there, we can just press down and secure it onto that connector piece. Then you can push and pull your tab and see all of your pieces moving, and they're looking so cool already. The next step is to attach the last part of the mechanism to our card base. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece, we're going to push it in so the edge of the mechanism lines up with the inner fold of the card, and we're going to be adding some adhesive there to the left of that score line. And once again, we're going to be using some 1/4 inch double-sided tape. I'm going to add 2 pieces of the tape. Then we can peel up that liner paper. We're going to expose the adhesive, and all that you have to do is close your card and press down to secure it in place. And now our interactive mechanism is working and ready to decorate. Now, I like to add a little decoration onto that piece of white cardstock that's part of the mechanism just to kind of help blend it into the card. So, what I like to do is I like to cut a piece that is 1 inch by 1.5 inches, and then you can just add some adhesive onto the back of that and layer that over the mechanism. Sometimes I'll make it the same color as my card base, sometimes I'll make it the same color as the center circle, sometimes the same color as the ring. It just kind of depends on the style. And in this case, I decided to make it the same pattern paper as the ring, and I think it just looks really nice and gives it a nice finished look. Now I want to create a little scene onto that main circle. So that blue grid is kind of working as my sky, and then this fall leaf paper is going to work as my ground. So I use that same main circle die to die cut it, and now I'm just going to trim it so that it's about 1 inch tall to be the grass for the bottom of my scene. Once I add the grass on to the main circle, I need to bring in some cute critters, and I'm going to use one of my favorite brand new stamp sets. It's called Little Woodland Library, and it makes me smile so much. It's got all of these cute little critters reading books, and I am such a book lover, so this set is just the sweetest thing ever. And I'm going to take that little library there, and we're going to go ahead and add some adhesive to the back of that and start layering it into the scene. And you'll see just how cute this is. It's so much fun to decorate this little circle and create these cute little mini scenes for Swivel Surprise cards. So we're going to be adding in the little library, our cute little fox reading his books. You can add different little book titles into the books, and so the fox and socks just makes me smile. And of course, we'll add a little butterfly into our scene. Then I love this little circle that pops out from behind because it's a really fun place to either add a sentiment or to have cute little critters popping up. And so this little mama bunny and baby bunny reading the book right there. I mean, look at this. Look how cute that is. Oh, I love it so much. Then I'm going to take this little mole and his book and glasses and add them onto the bottom of the card because I wanted to make sure to bring the scenes from the mechanism into the bottom of the card too. I thought that was kind of a fun little look and another fun way to add a cute little critter to this card. Next up, we need a sentiment. So here I am taking some awesome speckled eggshell cardstock. It's such a pretty cardstock, and we're going to die cut that with the curved banner that's included with the Swivel Surprise. Then I'm going to take one of the sentiments from the Little Woodland Library stamp set, which is your tops in my book, and we're going to curve it to match the curve of this. And so what I like to do is I like to put my block right on top of either the die or my die cut, and I just curve the sentiment to match it, and it makes it super, super easy to do it this way, and it just looks so adorable. So I'm going to stamp this in some dough ink, which is a really great brown that goes along with all of our beautiful fall colors that we've created, and we're going to stamp that right on to this curved banner, and you'll see just how cute, like somehow the sentiment is cuter when it's curved. It's just adorable. Then we'll take some tape runner onto the back of this and line that up with the circle. And I love this one because it's a super cute sentiment, but two, it really shows the movement of that center circle when you add that banner right on top. It just looks amazing. Now it's time to decorate the front of the card, and to do that I'm going to be using these brand new stitched rounded rectangles. I love these rounded rectangles. I just think they're so much fun, and the rounded edge kind of reminds me of a library card, so it goes really great with this library theme. And so I'm going to die cut some of that same beautiful pink gingham paper from the Falling Leaves collection so that it matches some of the paper that we're using on the inside of the card. Then I'm going to use these brand new book collection dies, which are so cute, and I'm going to die cut those from different colors of cardstock and some of that pattern paper too, so that once again we're bringing in some of the colors from the inside of the card. And these books are so cute because they have kind of the spine of the book that you can cut separately, and then you have the pages, and you can layer all of the pieces together to create your own beautiful bookshelf. Now, one of the books has this little detail with these little cutouts on it, and so what I like to do is I die cut one of the smaller books out of some orange cardstock, and I'm just going to layer that right behind so that I have this really pretty yellow book with like the orange pop of color coming through those little cutout details. I just think it's so pretty. Now here is our Scripty Thanks die, and I went ahead and die cut that from that same speckled eggshell cardstock that's so pretty, and I die cut a bunch of them so that I can layer them together to create some height to this so that it has just a little bit of pop on my card. So we're going to add some liquid glue to each of these layers and keep layering these on top of each other, and I just love this look. I think it makes it look like a cool kind of custom embellishment. And then we'll add some foam squares to the back of the books to give them some pop. And oh my gosh, are these books not just the cutest thing ever? So we're going to stack them all up on top of each other. And in the book collection die set, there's this little tassel to be like a bookmark. So I'm going to have one hanging out. And then, of course, add another little woodland library critter to the top of my stack of books. And then we can add some adhesive to the back of the stack of thanks that we added and layer that onto our rounded rectangle. Then we're going to take this whole panel and add some adhesive to that, and we're going to layer that onto the front of the card. And what I love about this is the front of the card is so cute. And then can you imagine the recipient's surprise when they open it up and they get this amazing swivel surprise on the inside? I love the rotating motion. I love how those little bunnies like peek out and pop out. I mean, is this not just the cutest thing ever? I love how the sentiment moves. I mean, these just make me smile. They're so much fun to decorate. They're so much fun to create. I love that you can mix and match your pattern papers and use lots of fun techniques on these. And that's what we're going to be doing in this next card. So let's go ahead and check out another Swivel Surprise. For our next card, we're going to be making a holiday card with the Swivel Surprise. And so we're starting out with the standard size card base out of some red cardstock. And then we're going to die cut some of our brand new Candy Cane Lane paper. It's so cute. I love these little trees. And so I went ahead and die cut them with the largest of the outside in stitched rectangle dies. And so we're going to add some adhesive on the back of this and then layer it into the card. And so in the last card, we did all pattern paper. And in this one, we're doing cardstock plus pattern paper. And I really like the look of the border around the pattern paper pieces. The pop of red is so pretty and perfect for the holidays. Then the next thing we need to do is start creating our mechanism. And we're going to create this mechanism just like we did in our previous card. So here we've gone ahead and die cut the mechanism out of some 80-pound white cardstock, and we're going to be folding along all of the score lines that the die creates for us. And as we fold along those lines, we're going to use our bone folder to make sure that the creases are nice and sharp. Now that we've folded along all of the score lines that the die created for us, we're going to take our index fingers and we're going to push into those folds, and you'll see that the whole mechanism is going to collapse. So again, we're going to push in towards that center there that we created, and the whole mechanism is going to collapse and create a shape like this. Then this whole piece is going to go on the inside of our card. So the first thing we need to do is flip the mechanism over, and we're going to add some adhesive onto that rectangle right there. And I'm just going to use my highlighter here so you can see exactly where we're going to add our adhesive. And we're going to add 2 strips of 1/4-inch double-sided tape, and then we can go ahead and peel up that liner paper. Then we'll flip the mechanism back over, and then we're going to line it up so that the edge there kind of butts right up into the center of the card. And once you have that perfectly placed there, just kind of eyeball it into the center, you're going to press down to secure it. Then to make sure that you've got everything in perfect placement, you can pull on the tab and you're going to have your 2 pieces that pop up. And so now our mechanism is going. So this time for the ring and the small circle and the main circle, instead of using pattern paper, we're going to be doing some inking. So I'm going to use Salty Ocean, Mermaid Lagoon, Salvage Patina, and Uncharted Mariner Distress inks. I'm also going to bring in a little chip sapphire at the end too. And so I'm just going to blend onto a bigger piece of cardstock that I'm going to die cut a little bit later with those pieces. And so I'm just going to create a really cool blend. This is one of my favorite blends for kind of this Christmassy night sky. I just think it's so pretty. And you'll see as I ink on the colors, I go back and forth between them. So I take the darker one to the lighter one, blending back and forth to make sure everything looks really beautiful. Now I set that aside to dry, and now we're going to die cut it with the main circle and also the ring piece. So we're just going to run that through the die cut machine, and you'll see just how beautiful these pieces are going to look. Now I wanted it to have a little bit more of a nighttime feel, so I'm going to go in with some chip sapphire ink and just add a little bit of a darker color to the outside edges. Then after that, I'm going to take my spray bottle. This just has clean water in it. I'm going to spray the ink and then just pick up the excess water with a paper towel to create this really cool snowy, blustery look. Then I'm going to take some white paint. This is some Copic white, but white acrylic paint would be perfect too. And I'm just going to mix it with a little bit of water and then tap the edge of my paintbrush to create splatters to create the look of snow on all of these pieces. And oh my goodness, I love how these are looking. The snowy details are so much fun. And so I'm going to set these aside to dry. And once they dry, we can start to work on our Swivel Surprise mechanism. I'm going to put the smaller circle aside for now because we're going to do something a little bit different with that butter knife piece that's at the top. We're actually just going to ignore that one for right now, and we're going to work on the ring first. So don't worry about that one there. We're going to do something a little different with it. We're going to work on this ring, which means threading it through that piece and attaching it to the bottom. So just like we've done before, we're going to add some adhesive to that bottom curved portion of the mechanism. Then we can take the ring and we can feed the mechanism through the center of the ring, and then just line the ring up with that piece. And once that piece is completely covered by the ring, you know you have it in perfect placement. And now we have the start of our mechanism. The next thing we're going to do is work on the connector piece because we're going to be doing something a little bit different with that top piece. So we're still going to leave that piece alone. So right now we're going to take our connector piece and we're going to fold along that score line, and we're going to fold up so that it looks like a little seat. And then you'll see, just like before, that there's the little X that the die created, and there's an X on our mechanism, and those two are going to line up. So we're going to add some liquid glue onto that right triangle shape where that little X is. And once we add our liquid glue, we can then line up the mechanism so that those two X's are touching, and I just like to hold it in place with my finger while the glue dries to make sure that it's a nice and secure hold. Next, we're going to be adding some adhesive to the connector piece. So we're going to fold that piece up just like that, and on the back of it, we're going to be adding our 1/4 inch double-sided tape. So we're going to add that right on there like that. Then we can go ahead and peel up that liner paper to expose the adhesive. We're going to keep that piece folded up, and then we're going to take our main circle here, and we're just going to line that up there with the ring so that there's a nice even border all of the way around that main circle. Then we can press down onto the connector piece. That's going to secure it in place, and then we can push and pull the tab to make sure that everything is working and it is looking awesome. Next, I wanted to add a snowy ground to the bottom of that pretty blue circle there on our main circle. So I die cut that same main circle piece, but I die cut it from some sparkle cardstock, some pixie dust cardstock, and I'm going to trim it at about 3/4 of an inch to create a ground. Then we'll add some adhesive to the back of that, and we can layer that onto the sky that we ink blended earlier. And I just think this is looking so pretty already. Then I'm going to take out another favorite brand new stamp set, and it's called Cheesy Christmas. And this set just makes me smile. I mean, that cheese tree is just the cutest thing. I love the little dancing mice. It's just adorable. So I went ahead and stamped and colored and die cut some of the images from the set, and we're going to add that into the scene. So here I'm going to take this cute little tree, and I'm going to add it right onto the snow into the middle of the scene. And you can see that the star is sticking up above that main circle, and that's totally okay. It's all still going to work wonderfully. You can see I'm testing there, and it works just great. And now we can add our cute little dancing mice, and they're going to be rocking around the Christmas cheese. So we're going to add them right onto this scene here, right on either side of that cheesy tree. And right at this point, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if that sparkly, snowy ground also lined up on that ring just below it? So it was kind of sparkly snow everywhere and then beautiful sky. So I decided to die cut that ring piece there out of that same pixie dust sparkle cardstock. And what I'm going to do is just kind of eyeball it here. So I'm just layering it over top, and then I'm just making a little pencil line so that it's going to line up with the snow there. And this ended up working out perfectly. Of course, if you thought of this earlier, you could have done it with the pieces off of the mechanism, but it worked out great to do it this way too. So you'll see there, I'm just kind of imagining the line of the snow and then just making a little line. And then I can just put that right into my paper trimmer and just trim off the ring. And now I'm going to have a ring piece that is going to be this perfect snowy ground. So I love that this is a way to take that outside ring. The outside ring can either be almost like a little frame for your scene, or in this case, it could be a part of your scene. So now we've kind of done it in two different ways, which I think is really, really cool. So you'll see here as we add this piece right onto the ring, how cool does that look? Now the outside ring has become part of the whole scene, which I think is just awesome. So now it's time to finally start working with the top part of the mechanism. And of course, there's that small circle that you can add to it, just like we did earlier, but you can also use other things like die cuts or stamped images and layer them onto this piece too, which I think is really, really cool. So here I have another cute little mouse from the Cheesy Christmas stamp set, and we're going to be layering him right onto this piece here. And I really wanted him kind of over to the side, not just right on top of the Christmas tree, but over to the side. And you can do that there. So I'm just going to attach the side of the mouse to that kind of butter knife piece that we've been working with all throughout this video, just like that. And then all you need to do is just trim off the excess of that piece. So I'm just going to take my scissors and just trim off any of that part of that butter knife mechanism that's showing. So I'm just going to trim it right around the mouse and then also right to the edge of that ring. But I'm going to leave the rest of it there because the rest of it you won't be able to see. And so now you'll see that we have this little mouse that's going to move, but you don't see that part of the mechanism, which is really, really cool and really, really cute. And I wanted to show you what that looks like. So see, now there's just like a little thin piece that's attached to my mouse, and he works perfectly. So this is a really cool way to get different looks out of the Swivel Surprise. You can either use the included circle, or you can do some cool things like adding cute little stamped mice or cute fun stamped images to that mechanism as well. Now, just like we've done before, we're going to add some double-sided tape to the edge of the mechanism there, right on the other side of that score line. And then we're just going to close our card so that we can secure the whole thing in place. And oh my gosh, this is looking so cute. So the next thing that I wanted to do was take that white part of the mechanism and bring it into my design more. And so in this case, I'm going to use the same pattern paper that I have on the card base, and I'm just going to trim a piece down to be 1 inch by 1.5 inches. Then we can add some adhesive to the back of that and just layer that right over top of the mechanism, and you'll see how it brings the mechanism into the design. This time, instead of using one of the banners for the Swivel Surprise, I thought it would be fun to stamp the sentiment directly onto the card. So I'm stamping "Rockin' Around the Christmas Cheese" right onto the pattern paper, and I think it's really cute because that rounded sentiment looks really nice with the rounded shape of all of our moving pieces. So I just think it's absolutely adorable. And then to go along with our dancing "Rockin' Around" theme, I thought it'd be really fun to add some music notes. So I went ahead and stamped and die cut a ton of music notes, and I'm going to add some tape runner to the back of these and then just layer these on to the ring on the outside. And I really like adding things to the ring because the more things you add to it, whether it be with pattern paper, with die cuts, with a sentiment, the more you can see the movement of this really cool mechanism. So I'm just adding those little music notes so that they go all of the way around as if they're singing and dancing to the music. Then I thought it would be fun to add some music notes to that cute little mouse that's popping up at the top. So I'm going to add some adhesive to those and layer part of the music notes behind him and have the rest of the music notes sticking out so that it looks like he is singing too, which I think just is super, super cute. And I like that it kind of extends him and helps him fill in the top of this design as well. And so now we'll add those cute little music notes on there. And then look at this. I mean, is this not the cutest thing you've ever seen? Oh my gosh, it just makes me smile so much. Next, we need to decorate the front of the card, and I wanted to keep it simple, and I knew that I had this little interior piece. Remember, that's the inside of the ring. We didn't use it on the top because we had the little mouse by himself, which is such a fun look, so I thought, why not use it on the outside of the card? So I went ahead and die cut that same pattern paper as the inside with the same die so that it has that nice little pop of red all around it. Then I took a piece of the pixie dust cardstock, which is the same thing that we use for the snow, and I just trimmed a piece down there to be, I think it's about 1 3/4 inches or so, 1.5 inches, and I layered that right onto the card, and then we're gonna layer this little circle on there too. Then we're going to add a bold sentiment, and we have an older die that has something brand new to go with it in this release. And so right here, this is our Scripty Mary die. Now we have a Scripty Mary outline that gives this really cool outline base for this die. So I went ahead and die cut the outline base out of some white cardstock and the Mary out of that same red cardstock that we use for the card base. I'm going to add some liquid glue to the back of the Mary, and then you can layer it onto that outline. It gives this nice bold outline that I think looks absolutely amazing. Then I went ahead and die cut that outline piece a few more times out of some white cardstock, and I'm going to stack them up to give the Mary a nice pop onto the card, especially since the front of the card is going to be nice and simple. I thought a nice pop would be really, really great. So we're going to add some adhesive onto that and then just layer all of these pieces together. Then we can add some adhesive to the back of the whole piece and layer that over that really pretty blue piece that we ink blended earlier. And I think this is so pretty. I love that it just gives a little idea of what might be on the inside. But then you get that really amazing surprise of the rocking around the Christmas cheese. I just think it's so cute to have the little mouse popping up without the circle. It's just a different way to get a different look out of the Swivel Surprise. I love the music notes rotating around and how we added the snow on both the ring and the main circle. I just think this was so much fun. I love it so much. Now it's time to make another swivel surprise. I'm starting off with a standard size card base of 5.5 by 4.25 inches out of some white cardstock, and we're going to add some decoration to the inside of this in the same way that we did in the previous card. We're going to use some pint-sized pattern paper this time though, and this is a beautiful yellow grid, and I'm going to die cut that with the largest of the outside in stitched rectangles, and we're going to layer them onto the inside of the card. And I think this is a pretty look, and that little white frame around the pattern paper pieces looks just beautiful. Next, we're going to work on the swivel surprise mechanism. So we're going to die cut the mechanism out of some 80-pound white cardstock, and then we're going to die cut the ring piece out of this falling leaves paper. That grid is so pretty. We're going to have both the ring and that smaller circle, and then we're also going to be die cutting the main circle out of that same pattern paper as well. We'll die cut the connector piece from some 80-pound white cardstock, and now we can start to work on our mechanism. And so just like we've done before, we're going to go ahead and fold back along all of the score lines that the die created for us, and we're just going to secure them down with our bone folder so that they have a nice and sharp crease. Then we can bring back out that card base that we worked on earlier, and we're going to take our index fingers and we're going to push in towards the center of that big X that we created so that the mechanism collapses down and creates a shape that looks like this. Then all we need to do is flip it over and add some adhesive to that bottom rectangle there. There's kind of like the shape of a house there. You're not going to add it to the roof, the triangle part. You're going to add it to the rectangle part. We're going to add 2 of our 1/4-inch double-sided adhesive, and then we can peel up the liner paper on both of those pieces, and now we can add the mechanism into our card. So we're going to flip it over, and we're going to line it up there in the center of the card, and the edge of the mechanism is going to butt up right into the fold of the card. Once we have that in place, we can press down to secure it. And then I always like to pull on the tab to make sure that my mechanism is working really well. So as you pull on the tab, the 2 pieces pop up and you know everything is working great. Then just like we did on the previous card, we are going to not worry about that top butter knife piece just yet. We're going to do that in just a little bit. We're going to work on the ring piece that's going to go right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some adhesive to that curved piece there at the bottom. And then once we have the adhesive there, we can take the ring, we can thread the mechanism through the center of the ring, and then we can line it up with that curved piece, and then our ring will be in perfect placement. Next, we're going to work on the connector piece. So just like we've done before, we're going to fold up on that score line to create something that looks like a little seat. And then we're going to add our adhesive. So we're going to be using some liquid glue, and we're going to add it to where that little X is in that right triangle shape. Then we can take our connector piece, and we're going to have those little X's. We're going to have those 2 line up, and we're just going to layer that piece right there. Then I like to hold it in place with my finger while the glue dries to make sure that everything is nice and secure. Then the next thing we need to do is add some adhesive to the connector piece. So we're going to be using some double-sided tape. We're going to fold up that flap just like that, and on the back of the flap, we're going to add a piece of double-sided adhesive. I have some 1/4-inch double-sided tape here, and so we're going to layer that on, and then we can remove the liner tape, and then we're going to take that main circle and we're going to add it right on top of that adhesive with that fold flapped up. And so what we're going to do is center that circle in the ring and then press down to hold that in place. And at this point, I always like to check that my mechanism is working, so I am going to push and pull that tab, and you can see how it's moving. Now we're going to push that tab all of the way in, and then we're going to take that same 1/4-inch double-sided tape, and we're going to add it to the other side of that score line there, right along that piece. Then we can go ahead and peel up that liner paper, and then all we need to do is just close our card shut, and that's going to attach the mechanism, and we're going to have an awesome swivel surprise. Now we're going to take this whole piece and put it aside because now we're going to work on the things that we're going to decorate with. And we're going to decorate with one of my favorite things ever, which is sunflowers. We have this brand new sunny sunflower die, and we also have this sunflower border die. And so I'm going to go ahead and die cut these out of some sticky note, cilantro, and chocolate bar cardstock. And you can see just how cute these are looking. But to add some extra details, I'm going to be using my markers just to add a little bit of color onto the petals. Now, right now, I am recreating a card by Grace. So thank you so much, Grace. This card is just so beautiful, and I am so excited to create it. So here you can see I'm just taking some different shades of yellow markers, and I'm just adding some little lines to add some detail onto the petals. I went ahead and did this on all of the larger sunny sunflower petals, and also on these little ones that come from the sunflower border die, just to add that little beautiful detail. Now that we've added a little bit of detail to each of these petals, we're going to start layering them together. So I'm adding some adhesive to the center of the flower, and then I'm just adding the next layer of the flower and then just kind of turning it so that all of the petals fill in, which is just so pretty. Then we'll add a little bit more adhesive into the center of these, and then we're going to add our little flower centers. And you'll see that we build the small flowers and the big flowers in the exact same way. And look how cute these are. Sunflowers, they're like the happiest, most beautiful flower. I love them so much. And I love that now I can have beautiful die cut ones too. Now, after adding some marker details to the petals, the leaves looked a little bit plain. So I went ahead and added some cilantro and artichoke ink to these, just kind of messily adding it towards the bottom of the leaves. The cilantro wasn't quite dark enough, so I brought in the artichoke just to add a little bit. And now it just gives the little leaves a little bit of extra something. I like to start with a color of cardstock and just add a little bit of ink for a special look. And then for a last little extra detail, I'm going to add some white gel pen lines just to help everything pop on the card. I just think this looks so pretty. Grace always adds these little white gel pen details to the cards and they just look beautiful. The next thing that we're going to do is create a sentiment banner. So we're going to use that really cool curved banner that's included in the Swivel Surprise. I die cut that from some white cardstock. And then here I'm going to take out these reveal wheel circle sentiments here. And there's a really fun sentiment that says to brighten your day. So we're going to have a sentiment that starts on the front of the card and then finishes up on the inside. And so just like we did before, I'm going to put my clear block over that curved banner. And then I'm just going to curve my sentiment to match it. And this makes it really easy to do. And then we can just stamp that out in some dough ink onto the banner. Then for some extra details, we're going to take out the hearts and stars skinny tag. I love this because it has hearts and stars in lots of sizes that are perfect for like adding little details or confetti to your cards. And so I went ahead and die cut that from some apricot cardstock, and we're going to add a heart to either side of this sentiment, which is going to look so super cute. So now that we have our sunflowers and our sentiment ready, we can start to add these onto the mechanism that we've already created. So we're going to start off by adding a sunflower and a leaf onto that main center circle. Then instead of adding that smaller circle onto that back piece that kind of looks like the butter knife, we're going to be adding one of these die cut sunflowers. So this is another cool way to use this is by using die cuts in your stash. So I'm going to add some adhesive onto the butter knife part of that piece, and then I'm going to add my sunflower on here. And I wanted to show you a little mistake I made. I went a little too far over with my sunflower, and I could immediately tell because I couldn't close my card. See, it got stuck. Well, that's okay. I can go ahead and just open it up and just shift my sunflower over just a little bit. The little petals were getting stuck. So I always like to do that is kind of close and check if you're using something different and not that main circle and just see, did it get stuck? That's okay. Just shift it over a little bit. Now I can make sure, closes perfectly. And then all I need to do is just take my scissors to trim off the excess of that mechanism that I can see there, kind of there to the left of the petals. And just like that, it looks perfect. You would never know that I cut away that mechanism, and the flower works absolutely awesome up there, and the card closes perfectly. Then I'm going to add a leaf to that sunflower as well, so it kind of matches the one in the center. And then I'm also going to go ahead and add my sentiment banner onto the ring, which is going to look so pretty. And I'm going to kind of put that there so that the sunflower is kind of almost coming out from behind it, which I think it looks really cool. Now we're going to add our next sunflower, and this guy is a little bit too big. It goes a little too far into that circle. So all I'm going to do is just put it where I'd like to have it there. And I'm just going to take a little pen and make a mark at the edge, the interior edge of the ring. So it's a little hard to see what I'm doing here, but you could easily see it in person. You're just going to make a little pen mark there on each edge of the ring once I have that in the place that I want it. Then once I have that pen mark, all I need to do is take out my scissors and just trim off any of the excess, and then the rest of that's just going to line up right with the edge of the ring. So I can just trim it off just like that. And then I can add some adhesive there directly onto the ring. I can layer my sunflower and another leaf. Then the last step is to add those two little tiny sunflowers. So we're going to add a tiny sunflower on the other edge of the ring there just to kind of fill in that section, and then another one at the bottom of the card. This is looking so cute. And last but not least, we're going to add a little heart to the center of the sunflower, and it matches the little hearts on the sentiment, which I think is so sweet. Now the next thing that we need to do is work on the front of the card, and we're going to do a fun sunflower theme for this too. And so here I have one of these brand new stitched rounded rectangles, which are so much fun, and we're going to be doing some stenciling on there. So we're going to use our grassy stencil and our cloudy stencil. And for the grassy stencil, I'm going to be using some sage leaf ink, and I'm just going to ink a little bit heavier towards the top of the grass and a little bit lighter towards the bottom. Then we can peel up the stencil to reveal our grass. And I love the stencil because the top of it is a mask for the grass. So I'm just going to go ahead and layer that over the grass that we ink so that we can work on the sky. And for the sky, we're using some butter ink and also the cloudy stencil. And the cloudy stencil has different shaped clouds on all four sides. So we're just going to rotate to the different sides and build up the clouds by starting on the stencil and working off onto the sky. And this is going to create a really pretty yellow sky. I just love how this background is looking, and now we need to create a cute scene on it. And so to do that, we're going to take out the watering can die, which is so super cute, and I'm going to die cut that from some silver metallic cardstock so that it looks like a silver watering can, a little metal watering can. And we're going to be adding our sunflower into this. So I already have some sunflower and leaves, and in the sunny sunflower die, it also has a stem. And so I'm just going to add some adhesive to that circle at the top of the stem, and then I can just layer the sunflower right on top of that. Then the next thing that I need to do is stamp my sentiment. And so to know exactly where to stamp it, I'm just kind of eyeballing where my sunflower and my watering can are going to go. And then I'm just going to hold those in place with my magnet while I place my sentiment. Then I'll remove those guys out of the way just so I don't get ink on them by mistake. So here I'm using long distance hugs, which has some really great sentiments in it. And I'm going to line up sending big hugs and smiles. And then the inside is going to say to brighten your day. So this is so super cute. I'm going to line these up, pick them up with the door of my MISTI, and then I'm going to remove the word hugs because I want to stamp that in a different color. And I'm going to stamp the rest of it in some dough ink. Then once I have that stamped, I can go ahead and layer in the word hugs, and then I can stamp that in some number 2 pencil. And I love this look of the different colors of ink on the sentiment. It's so much fun. Now that I have all of that stamping and inking done, we can start to add our watering can and sunflower into the scene. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to trim off a little bit of the stem because I could see that some of it was going to hang out from the watering can. And I also went ahead and added the heart. That heart comes with the watering can die. And so I die cut that from that same apricot cardstock so that there would be a heart on the front that matches the hearts on the inside of the card. So I went ahead and added some adhesive and layered onto my watering can onto the scene. And now I'm just going to tuck the sunflower right in. It has a cut right at the top so that you can tuck flowers into the watering can, which is so sweet. And then I'm going to add some little leaves in there as well, just kind of tucking them into the watering can too. For a last cute touch, we're going to take out this really cute You're a Keeper stamp set, and there's these tiny little bees and trails in there. So I went ahead and stamped and colored and die cut those, and we're going to layer those into the scene, flying all around the watering can and the sentiment and the sunflower. And our last step is to add this to the front of the card. So we're going to take out some of that falling leaves paper, again, the same paper we used on the inside, and we're going to layer that onto the card front. And then we can take our whole rounded rectangle panel and layer that onto the front of the card. And then we just have one little last step. I forgot to do this earlier, but there's the little piece that's part of the mechanism that's in white cardstock right now. I wanted to layer on a little piece of that same yellow grid pattern paper. So this piece is 1 inch by 1.5 inches. I'm just going to layer that right over top of the mechanism. And now this card is all done. The front is so cute, and look at the surprise on the inside. I love the sunflowers rotating around. I love how we were able to add a sunflower to that back piece that normally has the circle. I think it's so cute with the sentiment all around and having them rotate. Oh my gosh, I mean, does this not just make you smile? It brightens my day. It's just so cute and so much fun. I love it so much. And thank you so much again to Grace for this amazing design. And so next up, we have some incredible Swivel Surprise cards from the design team. They are just going to blow you away. And I had to show you another one by Grace. This one by Grace is so much fun. It's a thanks card with the cute little books and this fun little owl. And as you open it up, you can see the rotation there. You have the super cute sentiment and the owl with the books. I think this is just so sweet. This card by Maureen is so much fun. It's a square shaped card, which is a great shape for the Swivel Surprise. And it says trick or treat on the front, and on the inside, she turned the Swivel Surprise into the moon with a bat. Oh my gosh, I just love it. This card by Audrey is so much fun. As you open it up, you get this fun strawberry patch. Isn't this just adorable? And here you can see the card in action. I love the clean and simple front and then the big surprise on the inside. This card by Elise is so sweet. She used our brand new Build a Christmas Tree, and then her sentiment is on the inside, rotating so beautifully. This card by Elena is so much fun. I love the spooky scene, and as you open it up, it says boo. Oh my gosh, I love it. This card here has a nice clean and simple sentiment on the front, and then on the inside we have our brand new Frosty Family stamp set rotating so beautifully with that fun and happy sentiment. This card by Grace is so cute. It uses our brand new coffee cup die, and I love that little cupcake too. And as you open it up, it has this adorable little latte on the inside. There are just so many fun ways to decorate Swivel Surprise. I just love it. This card by Grace is so much fun. I love her plant and bug theme and how she created a nice horizontal shaped card, so you can really do a lot of cool things with the Swivel Surprise. This card here has a fun Let It Snow on the front, and on the inside we used acetate on the ring and layered snowflakes on it. Oh, I just love it. This Feliz Navidad card with this cute little penguin by Letitia is so sweet. And then I love the simple front of this Swivel Surprise, and as you open it up, you get the fun cheesy Christmas, which is just so cute. And last but not least, we have an awesome Halloween card by Megan, and as you open it up, the Swivel Surprise is so cool with all of those spider webs. And oh my goodness, we cannot wait to see the amazing Swivel Surprises that you guys are going to create, so make sure to share them with us. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!